The assassination of American President John F. Kennedy took place while he was riding through downtown Dallas in his highly secured motorcade. At that time, he was accompanied by Secret Service agents and an entire police motorcade. Not only that, the FBI had been monitoring the entire route for several days. But despite all this, on November 22, 1963, he was attacked near Dealey Plaza and killed on the spot. Minutes after the attack, the CIA, FBI, Secret Service, and the police created a stir. But despite using so much force, they could not bring anyone else to justice except a shooter named Lausward, or did not want to bring. Was it a well-thought-out plot, or a lone shooter who dodged the world's top secret agencies and shot the most famous president from just a few meters away? This official story was not digested by anyone. There was also a simple fast route from the airport to the bank where the president had to go. But why was his motorcade brought through the center of the city? And who planned this route? Of course, the person who shot them was a coincidence or planning. But the fact is that only a month ago he got a job at a book depository with just one phone call. But how? In the video footage of the shooting scene, the girl wearing a scarf was seen taking photographs of the murder. Why has he not been found till date? And what is his connection with all this? Welcome back to my channel. While the death of President John F. Kennedy has left millions of Americans in mourning, the investigation into the case has failed to answer all the lingering questions people have. It is believed that the top secret agencies of the US have covered up a lot about the assassination and have not made the truth public. And there are many reasons for thinking so. The first of which is the selection of the venue where the president was originally supposed to go. President JFK was scheduled to make a political speech in Dallas, Texas, for which there were two options. One was Trade Mart, and the other venue was Women's Building. The White House recommended that the Women's Building be selected as the venue, but Texas Governor John Kenly wanted the president to go to the Trade Mart because the Trade Mart was a banquet hall and the interior of the Women's Building was not suitable. The president can go there. Finally, on November 14th, 8 days before the assassination, the venue of the Trade Mart was selected, but the news was not made public. Now it was time to decide how to get from Lowfield Airport, where the president's plane was to land, to the Trade Mart. Now normally presidential motorcades are taken on a route where there are minimum obstacles or turns. There was also a route that could bypass the city and take the president from outside to the Trade Mart, but it was not selected. Instead, a route was selected to pass through the inner city by the school book depository from where the shooter attacked the president. If you think this route was planned to specifically attack the president, you are wrong. Yes, this was done at the request of the president himself because he wanted to pass through the crowd of people. But if it is assumed that the Women's Building was selected instead of the Trade Mart venue, then the motorcade of the president would have passed through this main road towards the east. This would also increase the distance to the book depository and make it difficult for the shooter to aim, because the president's wife, First Lady Jacqueline, who always sat on his left seat, would come between the shooter and the president. One of the things in the planning of the assassination of the president was very important to select the venue of the Trade Mart. And as you know, the selection was made by Texas Governor John Kenly. His intentions cannot be doubted because when the president was attacked, he himself was sitting in the presidential limousine with his wife. He was also shot but survived. And secondly, Governor Kenly was already against this route. They wanted the Trade Mart to be accessible from outside the city. But there was someone who had made calculations of all these things long ago. The president's motorcade and venue were made public only 3 to 4 days before his assassination. This information was not known to anyone before this, but something happened at the school book depository 2 months ago. That suggests someone already had this information. Yes, exactly 2 months ago there was a sudden staff shortage in the school book depository. In September 1963, a man named Wassel Frazier receives a call from an employment agency, offering him a job at a book depository. Wassel Frazier lived half an hour away in a town called Irving. He arrived at the book depository the very next day, September 13th, and was hired by Superintendent Roy Tully. After a month, on the 15th of October, Wassel's neighbor also approached the superintendent of the book depository over the phone and agreed that he was also hired the next day. Wassel's neighbor was none other than Lausward, who was to be arrested in the case of President JFK's murder after 39 days. As Lausward did not have a driver's license, he could not make daily trips to the Outback. For this reason, he took a room on rent in Dallas. On weekends, he would go to his home in Irving with Wassel after office timings, and return to the book depository with Wassel on Monday morning. This routine continued for about a month, but it was broken on November 21st, just a day before the assassination of the president. On Tuesday, November 21st, Louis Ward went to his home in Irving with Fossil because he said he would be staying in Dallas this weekend. The next morning, Friday, when Sword left the house to go to the office with Fossil, he had a long paper bag in his hand, in which Sword said there are curtain rods that he is taking to install in his room. Just half an hour before the assassination, Sword was on the 6th floor of the book depository with some of his colleagues. At that time it was 12 o'clock in the day and it was lunchtime. Everyone went to the first floor to have lunch, but Sword was alone on the 6th floor. A lot of people had gathered outside the depository to see the president's motorcade. A few employees of the depository were also busy watching this scene from the windows of the 5th floor. At 30 minutes past 12, the president's motorcade arrives, in which the president sits on the right seat of the vehicle, and the first lady sits on the left seat. The governor and his wife were present. As the presidential limousine takes a left turn from the book depository, the entire area echoes with the sound of the first fire. Incidentally, at that time a reporter was recording the entire scene on his camera. Some said 2 shots were fired, but others heard 3. But 1 bullet hit the president's neck and the other on his head. The limousine driver beckoned to drive away from the location, but President John F. Kennedy may have died at the same time. Some called it black, some said it was white. But a motorcade police officer saw a man firing on the 6th floor immediately after the first fire. So, without wasting the time, they entered the building. They went to the 6th floor, but no one was there. Within minutes, the entire building was sealed off by police and the FBI, and all the employees inside were now barred from going out. But among all these employees, 1 person was missing, and that was none other than Lee Osford. Lee Osford probably left the book depository immediately after doing this. He first went to his room, changed his clothes, and went out with his pistol. The police, who were now looking for him, had wirelessly patrolled the entire city. An officer on patrol spotted Osford, but before he did anything, Osford fired 4 shots at the police officer, killing him on the spot. Osford had now gone into hiding in a nearby movie theater. Soon the police found him and arrested him, and took him to the police headquarters. He was thoroughly interrogated by the police, FBI and CIA for the next 2 days. But this interrogation was not recorded. No one has any proof of what happened in the locked room. On November 24th, while he was being transferred from police headquarters to prison, he was shot by a man in front of packed media and police in the hospital where John F. Kennedy was taken. Lee Osford also died. This was the story that was officially disclosed. But several witnesses said that it was not the same person they saw at the 6th floor window before the shooting. Lee Osborne kept saying in front of the media that he was innocent, analyzing the whole story. According to the police, Lee Osford played big and looked at the best meats before planning. He got a job in a book depository and did all this planning alone, hiding from FBI, CIA and police intelligence. But people say that if Osford did such a perfect planning alone, then how come he made so many mistakes in the end? Like running away from a building, killing a police officer to create more suspicion, or hiding in a movie theater. After the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, several investigative reports were published, but each report made the case more confusing. After Oswald's death, it was also theorized that he might have been killed by the same people who actually did all the planning. Because even if it was a conspiracy, it was still not possible to do this work without insiders. Many believe that the FBI and CIA were also involved in this conspiracy, because Lee Oswald was actually a former US Marine and was already being watched by the FBI. But they still hid it from the president's Secret Service. When they were deciding the motorcade's route, several pieces of evidence were also destroyed during the investigation. As the 3 bolt shells from the 6th floor were removed without being photographed, and then the bolts were replaced. This photograph was taken. Initial videos were made by the police from where the shots were fired, but they also disappeared somewhere. But an evidence of the shooter must have been recorded so that the mystery would never have remained a mystery. In almost all the photos and videos during the shooting, the girl in the scarf was seen holding the camera and captured all the photos of the assassination of the president. The scarf she wears is called a babushka, and hence she was named Babushka Lady. Many people theorize that the Babushka Lady was also part of the entire plane whose job it was to record the scene. But till date, FBI has never been able to trace this girl. I hope you will like and share this video of information. See you in the next wonderful video.